So today we're going to rebuild this F2 Illustrator. I aired it up because someone had ordered it and it's just leaking all over the place. So I figured we'd do a rebuild video on it and get it working, and then I'd ship it out. So here we have the F2 Illustrator. I've taken the barrel off and we're going to disassemble it, and then we will replace the O-rings. So we have to take the frame off to get the valve out. So we take our back grip frame screw off. We already have our front grip frame screw off. Don't lose your lock washers. So now our frame is off, and let's get some Teflon tape around the front of it. No big deal. And I'm just going to lay the parts out as they came off the marker. We can see we also have our lock washer in the front grip frame screw hole. Looks like we have some hot glue or something in the screw holding the valve in. Oops. Upper back tube cap. Here's our lower back tube cap with our RVA on it, and we have our bumper and our spring, and I'll take out our front cap here. There's one O-ring that's going to need to be replaced, and our valve spring, our cup seal, and our valve diffuser guide. And now we can take our bolt pin out. There's our bolt and our hammer. Hammer has a Viatron O-ring on it, which will need to be replaced. Now as we look down the tube of the marker, we can see our valve right there. So we're going to have to take our valve out next. So I have a spoon with a dowel, and I believe I just push it out the front. We'll give that a try. So we just push that right out. Now we have our valve out right here. There's our valve. Look at our face. Looks pretty nice. Look at our cup seal. Cup seal should be good. Cup seals are pretty durable. So, and also on this we have a Buna O-ring on the rear and a urethane O-ring on the front. Now we can start replacing our O-rings. So now we'll line up our parts so we can see our breakdown here, and we'll go over the necessary O-rings and then we'll replace them. So here we have our body, we have our frame, we have our grip, we have our back plug, our top plug, we have our bolt, our hammer, our linkage pin, our valve, valve spring, and front plug. So the O-rings that we will be replacing right now are the ones that typically will need replacing, which will be the front plug, the hammer, the bolt, and the valve. We won't be replacing these two since they don't form airtight seals and there's no actual pressure against them except for maybe when air is somehow venting past the hammer O-ring, which shouldn't happen because the hammer O-ring should actually seal off. These two urethane O-rings are going to be 90s, and they're going to be size 13s. So there's 1 and 1. This back O-ring on the valve, closest to the hammer, does not necessarily retain pressure constantly. It retains pressure when gas is either being fired or venting through the cup seal shaft for blowback for the hammer. So this is a Buna O-ring, and this one is also a size 13. I believe it's a 70 possibly. So we set that right there. We have a couple of size 16s. These are Bunas. They go on the bolt, so I'll set these right here. Then we have a Viatron size 13, and I'm not sure what durometer this is. Not exactly sure on that. But now let's replace them. And for most of these O-rings, they come off pretty easy. So I can just squeeze them, take them right off. There's one bolt O-ring off. And there's the second bolt O-ring off. Push it towards the front and the back so we don't have to go over the same groove again. There we go. These O-rings on the bolt actually seem fine. Didn't need to replace them, but I'm going to for the sake of this video. There we go. Bolt is good. Now our Viatron O-ring on our hammer. Again, this one actually has some wear, so yeah, it probably needed to be replaced. Throw that on there. Now on our valve, here's our Buna, size 13. Take that off. Oops. And our urethane. Again, on these, we are just cracked apart, so that one obviously needed to be replaced. And again on the valve, you want to just go the opposite directions on each O-ring to remove them, just so that they will come off easy and not fall into the same groove. Do the same thing when you're putting them on. And when you think about the O-rings on the valve, the urethane size 13 is meant to retain the gas in. So our cup seal is in right here, and this is our live chamber right here with gas that is vented when the hammer strikes the cup seal. So pressure is constantly against this O-ring, so that's why it's a urethane, because it doesn't swell as easily. Whoop, this just broke apart also. It doesn't swell as easily when there is CO2 or air against it. So there we go, we're all replaced with what we're going to replace. I can just throw these out. So now we're ready to reassemble. We have some KC trouble-free oil. We're going to put this on the valve before we put it in. Put on the other components too. It's a synthetic oil, and it's what I normally use. Use my spoon with my dowel. More difficult to get this valve in than I remember. There we go, now our valve's lined up. Now we can reassemble. So first thing first, put my back screw in. So now we're going to put our bolt and hammer in with our linkage. Then we'll put our grip frame screw on. Make sure your bolt hole is facing down. Feel around for your hammer if it's pushed in far enough, and mine is not. Now we're almost good. Can look for the hole lining up. There we go. Now we're lining up. We can move it below. We can see that our hammer is in. We can also see that our wire detent is functioning properly. Now I can just screw my top and bottom back tube plugs in. Remember, your bottom back tube plug is your RVA. Front tube plug, put a little bit of oil on this. Set your valve spring in it and insert. Hope that it easily goes into the valve, and it does. Now we're going to put our grip frame on. So now, when it comes to our front grip frame screw, I'm not sure if all F2 illustrators were built the same way. This one is F2 so it could be a later model, but on this one, the front grip frame screw actually touches the valves, so and just get some of this gooey TFE on here. Try not to make too much of a mess. The smallest amount is the best amount. There we go. Put my cap on my TFE. Drop my lock washer on here. Oops. And screw it in. Oops. My Allen screw is actually a little too small. I was using the wrong one. There we go. Give it a nice lock, and we're good. Now I can air it up. I guess I should air it up before I put the grip frame on. See if I have to disassemble again. Or see if it will hold air. So check everything, make sure it's tight. It is. Now we're going to gas it up. So we have a very small leak down our barrel. Which could be the cup seal, which I didn't replace. So we'll take our cup seal out, replace our cup seal, and try it again. All right, so we have our old cup seal. It has some wear on it. And we have our new cup seal right here. Luckily I had quite a few F2 cup seals, so I could just easily replace it. Take our cup seal, and wiggle it so it goes into the valve, if it's even possible. There we go, drops into the valve. Make sure all of our plugs are screwed in. There we go. Screw our tank on. Caulk it. No leaks. And will it cycle? All right, so here we have the F2 Illustrator. It's been rebuilt, and let's see if it cycles. Cycles okay. Now we're good to go.